Hello everyone, I'm Orglord and this is my current open world Mag Necro PvP build for the Dragonhold patch. So, starting with the gear, I am in a 5 light, 1 heavy, 1 medium setup, and I'm currently using a heavy chest piece and medium helmet, so you get the most resistances. I have 5 piece New Moon since it provides the highest raw spell damage out of any other set overall, and then the extra 5% cost really doesn't affect your sustain. Next is 5 Pariah, since using a defensive set's going to allow you to stray away from having to use either Protective or Blood Spawn. And then for the monster set, we have Balorg, just to boost that extra burst when you ult. So with New Moon on, your Colossus is going to cost 236 ultimate, which at the minimum you're going to be getting 472 spell damage from, and then upwards to 1,000 extra spell damage if you have 500 ult. For the traits, I'm going to be using all impen on the body, since it's by far the best PvP trait outside of some stealth or bomb builds that might use divines. And then on the jewelry, I'm using 3 harmony in order to make use of the grave robber for massive AoE burst. And then on the back bar, I have defending, which I found to be more useful than decisive or powered, along with a drained stamina and magicka poison, just to help your sustain when you're LOSing. On the front bar, we have a infused Inferno staff with the weapon damage glyphs, so I can have the highest uptime on the spell damage as possible. And you could run Nirnhound, which will in bursts give you higher damage, but the uptime with infused is going to be a little bit better overall. As for the rest of the enchants, I'm using 1 spell damage on the neck and then 2 mag recovery, so it's going to make your sustain really good on this setup. Aside from occasional 1v1s in open field, you might have to heavy attack every once in a while for. On the armor, I am using all triglyphs to get my stamina up to 14k, a little bit over that, which being a Nord also helps with. And now let's get into the abilities. So on the front bar, as our spammable, we have Ellie Weapon. I found it to be the most reliable. I've tried Ricochet Skull and Force Pulse, but the Skull is way too slow. And the Force Pulse doesn't really give you as much burst potential as Ellie Weapon does. I am using Grave Robber to make use of the Harmony. And you really got to time this well, because you can only use a synergy every 20 seconds. This applies for every synergy in the game, by the way. And it costs 4.7 thousand, so you really don't want to use this ability unless, you're going in for some bomb. Now, Blast Bones is going to be the main damage ability for this build, despite how unreliable it can be at times. I know, it's very annoying when it doesn't work. And when it does hit, though, it's a nice little extra burst, and it has good AoE damage. For the next ability, I will be using Vamp Drain. Reason I have Agony Totem here is because I interchange it. I interchange the two depending on what I'm doing. So if I'm running, planning on fighting like 5 to 10 people, I would rather have Accelerating Drain. But if I'm just going into some crazy Zerg fight, I'll throw on Agony Totem, because it's just too hard to, single out one opponent at a time. And the AoE stun on this is amazing. When I do use Agony Totem, I'm also going to be swapping between Inferno and Lightning. So Lightning for the Totem and Inferno for Vamp Drain. Okay, now we have the Summoner's Armor. It's just going to be your armor buff. The reason I'm front barring it is because it gives you that extra 200 mag and stam return from the passive here. Let's take a look at it. Death Gleaming, whenever you're in an enemy you're in combat with dies within 28 meters of you, you get 200 magic and stamina return. So that's always nice. And then for the ultimate Colossus, let's go to the back bar. We have Race Against Time for the Snare Immunity and Major Expo. I think it's mandatory for open world PvP to have a Snare Immunity just to move around. And then Spirit Guardian for the damage mitigation. You can use the other morph if you want the extra healing, but I do like this morph a little bit better because you don't have to cast it as much. Next, we're going to have Rapid Regen, which is essentially like Vigor, and it only applies to one person. So it's a great hot, but it can be unreliable when you have some other friendly players around you, because they end up eating the heal. Like sometimes I'll be at 10-15% health, and then there's an opponent at a friendly at like 100, and it ends up going to him. And sometimes I'll die from it. It's the worst, but it does happen. Okay, next up we have Resistant Flesh for the burst heal, which you're going to need since we only have 2 hots on the build. And then for the last slot we have Expunge and Modify for the sustain, because you're really getting 1,000 mag and stam each time you're purging 2 abilities or 2 effects. And then for the ultimate, I will use either Undo for the minor protection if I'm using Vamp Drain, and if I'm using Totem, I'll throw on Resto Ulti. Now, let's take a look at the food. I have Clockwork Citrus Fillet. It's a little expensive, so you could run Witch Mothers if you want, but you do need a little extra mag recovery. This is just because the max mag on this build is very low, only 25,000. But with your sustain being good, it'll be just fine. Okay, and then for the Mundus, we have Apprentice just to boost your spell damage as high as you possibly can. Now for the champion points, starting with the Apprentice, I'm just going to go through these super quick. 43 Bless, 56 Elfborn, 49 Ellie Expert, 38 Spell Erosion, 23 Shattering Blows, 56 Mastered Arms, 5 Staff Expert, and then for the Steed, 51 Ironclad, 46 Resistant, 51 Thick-Skinned, 1 Light Armor Focus, 49 Hardy, 49 Ellie Defender, 23 Quick Recovery, and then we have 56 Warlord, 35 Sprinter, 43 Mooncalf. Again, extra stam recovery, it always helps. Especially because having a pet is going to give you an extra 200 mag and stam recovery, so you can really get your stam reco up to like 1,000 on this build, which for a mag tune is very good. And then using your mag recovery, get 56 Arcanist, 56 Tenacity, and finally 24 Tumbling. So let's just take a quick look at the buffs, at the stats. Your health in Cyrodiil or in PvP is going to be roughly 29,000, so it is very tanky. Pariah is going to make good work of almost having 30k health. Unbuffed, about 1,700 regen, which is pretty good. And then Resistance is unbuffed. This is on the back bar, 24 and 22. Swap to the front bar, we go down to 19 physical and 21 spell resistance. Now let's check the buff stats. See 3,500 spell damage there, very nice. Almost 2250 mag regen, 2650 spell resistance, 25k spell resistance. And then if we go to the back bar, the resistances are at 29,000 and 27,000. And this is at 100% health. Obviously with Pariah, this is going to get up almost to 40,000. It's a really, really strong set. I've tried other sets like Swift that reduce damage. I found Pariah to work much better. And then for the potions you guys saw me use there, I am using the Spell Power Pots. Since I'm not using Entropy or anything, you're going to need it. The crit's nice too. You'll see with a pot up, I'm at like 43%, which is excellent. Alright, I think that is going to do it. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoy the build, and I do stream on Twitch for those of you who are interested in watching live gameplay of the build, and I will put a link below for that. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.